Hi everybody. Now here in the UK, the government is loudly telling us that there is a programme of rolling blackouts across the country, but not to worry because it's only a plan and they're not going to happen. And of course we have two choices. We can believe the government and it can all be hunky-dory and nothing will happen, or we can believe them and something will happen and we can sit with our head in our hands going, oh no, what do I do now? Well, there is of course a third choice. That third choice is to get some preparation done. Do a little bit of something so that should that happen, you don't have to rely on something that just isn't there. Now in video 1739 we talked about this a little bit and the rationale for why we were looking at heaters and stoves. Of course, we did have a situation where we had some stuff where we just needed electricity for it. So if you're looking at things like refrigeration, for example, or maybe entertainment, which includes things like the internet and your telly, you're going to need electricity to run those things. And the big question then is, what do you do about it? Because generating and storing your own electricity actually isn't that easy. Generating it, well, there's loads of ways and it's not that difficult. Storing it, well, you stick it in a battery. But of course you do need a set of electronics between those things, and you need to understand the system a little bit. And to acquire that in about 2 months, which is how long we've got, because these blackouts are not going to happen in January and February, means that we don't have a lot of choices available to us. Then this company sent me this. It's EcoFlow. It is their Delta 2 product, which they launched this month, and they're touting it as a portable power bank. You know, take your tools into the woods and saw down a tree and whittle a statue from it, or go fishing with it, or run your log cabin with it, that sort of thing. And they said, because it's a new product, would I care to review it? And of course I said, oh yeah, I'd love to, because this may be an answer to the problem we're looking at. Now, it is £1,600. It comes as a foldable solar panel and a battery pack, and we're going to get it out of the box in a minute and have a look at it. Now, before the energy price rises, I was paying something like 11 or 13 pence a kilowatt hour. This month I paid 30 pence a kilowatt hour, and of course electricity prices are going to shoot up. So although this was a relatively expensive at the time, in terms of what you're going to have to be paying, and in terms of the loss of power we're due to get in January and February, I think it starts looking far more interesting, even though it's 1,600 quid for the pack. And so it does begin to look like, in principle, an idea that we could extend to covering the problems we've got in the UK, as well as the other stuff that EcoFlow is saying it's good for. So let's get it out of the box and have a look. There it is out of the box, and clearly this is meant to be portable. I mean, we've got a couple of handles on the battery there and the solar panels in this nice carry case. Now, this is the kilowatt version. Actually, it's 1024 watt hours, but there is another battery you can add on to it to make it 2 kilowatt hours, and they have one called their Max, which is 3 kilowatt hours. It'll take it up to, so power to the max. We use about 5 kilowatt hours in my house every day, so this becomes a serious contender for covering those blackout period of time that we're thinking about, where we're thinking about losing power for 3 or 4 hours. Then 2 to 3 kilowatt hours, that'll do us just plenty. Now, it's pretty nicely designed. It uses lithium iron phosphate batteries, and they're using their own control technology called Extreme. I mean, I like the name, but you know, whatever that is. But they reckon you've got 3,000 charge-discharge cycles, which is about 10 years if you use it once a day, something like that. 24-month warranty, I think, if you register the thing. And they reckon that the charge time is 80% in 50 minutes and 100% in 80 minutes, charging about 7 times faster and lasting about 6 times longer than what's considered the industry standard at the moment. So very promising in terms of what it is, and it's certainly very pretty and has potential for being more usable. Let's get this solar panel out of here and have a bit of a better look at that. Okay, that's it opened out. It is $183 by 82, with each panel of the 4 panels being 42 by 82. It's bifacial, so we've got this black side which faces the sun, and then this silvery side here that is supposed to collect extra from ambient light. Now I've got it on its carry case, because the carry case is the frame that puts it in an angle, and they recommend morning and evening, put it at an angle, midday and around midday, chuck it flat on the ground. So it's a solar cell. It'll be 220 watts like they say. The fold and the carry case are neat, and I was impressed by using the carry case itself as the actual stand, but clearly it's all about portability here. And when you've done, fold it back up and back into its pretty cute carry case. Now these hinges here, I can tell you this material is tough. It feels like that material that they make car hitches out of, the flat stuff. Now, I'm not sure how long that will last, because obviously anything you're folding and unfolding is a weakness, but they give a 2-year guarantee, so I'm guessing more than 2 years if you're folding it and unfolding it continuously. Okay, the battery itself, I mean, it comes out of the box charged, but that's because it's lithium, hey? So it's got 31% charge on, and it gives you a power usage, which is currently 0, and it's telling me I've got 86 hours at 0, which is really no surprise, because there is a degree of self-discharge, and I might put something on there. I'm assuming it'll adjust the hours of usage left. It can be charged in a whole range of ways. I mean, we've seen the solar panel, and of course that is built to go with this. But the input on the solar side is something with like 11 volts to 60 volts range. That's the range you have to have. So you can input from any solar panel, really. And there are guidance in the user manual on how to connect other solar panels up should you want to, which I think is pretty cool of the company. I mean, they do provide the solar panel, but they've made it so you can do it from any other solar panel. And if that's the case, I'm willing to bet you could do this from a wind turbine too. I haven't tried it on a wind turbine yet, but that's an interesting idea, because you'd be able to charge this from any input from 11 to 60 volts. Should be able to charge it from a wind turbine. That's kind of cool. You can also charge it from mains, and you can also charge it from your car, and you can charge it from a generator. So it's a whole range of ways of charging this thing so that it becomes a usable product, and they supply all those extra cables for you. So all the cables for the methods of charging are in the box with it. There's a port on the side here, which is the one where you plug in the extra battery change. Remember I said you could get the extra battery to take it up to 2 kilowatts, or the max battery to take it up to 3 kilowatts. That's where it plugs in. On the outside of things, that is the power coming out, you've got 4 sockets here, and of course there are restrictions on what they are, but they're the 240 volts. I believe it's 10 amps, something like that. Here's the car socket one, where you can plug in your cars to run car adapters. So anything you could plug into your car, you can plug into here to get the power out. And there's a little button there so that you can switch that DC voltage out. And of course, it's DC out of here, but AC out of there. So the inverter is also contained in this box here. On the inside of things, more on the outside, there's a whole range of USB adapters here, including the fast charge USB, and of course our little display panel that we've got there telling us where we are at state of charge and what we're using. The other inputs are right here, so it's input on the back, output on the front. And here we've got our AC input, there's our solar or a wind turbine, so tempted to stick a wind turbine on it, input there. Now, they're very proud of this, and rightly so, hey? But they're very proud of a particular aspect, and they wanted me to mention it, and that is, this thing can be run by Wi-Fi or an app on your phone. And I said that to Luke. I said, do you know this will run on an app on your phone? He went, wow, that's amazing. And then I said, why? And he stood for a minute, looked and said, because if something's got 3 cup holders, it's going to be better than something with 2 cup holders. And then I kind of have to agree with that. I think the app is great if you're one of those who likes to count their steps every day and record their calories. And interesting in a way, it does have the app feature, so you can run it on the app feature. But there's a screen right here, and you're going to be carrying this thing around, so how difficult it is to bend over and read the screen. But if you don't want to do that, they've got an awesome app to go with this as well. Now the whole point of this thing is ease of use. That's what they've aimed it at. I mean, they've aimed it at portability, that's obvious, eh? but they've also aimed it at adaptability and ease of use. So we've got this massive range of inputs that we can charge this battery with and take it to where we want to use it and plug the things in. But they've also made it stupidly simple. I mean, that's one of the issues about installing your own on-site generation. There's quite a lot to know about it, and it is quite expensive and quite difficult to do by yourself, so there's a tendency to get a company in. Here we've got something that you know, it is so simple to do. We're talking sort of level of 9-year-old child kind of thing. So simple to do and so set up that if you're short on time and you want a solution to something, this presents itself as a solution, and I think it is. I think you don't really know what you're doing, don't really have the time to learn what it is, this could well be an ideal solution for you, particularly with this expandability, and from my side of things, particularly with the adaptability to the input side. We've got it all here. All you really need to do is plug in a solar cell. I'm suspecting all you really need to do is plug in a wind turbine and you're gonna be charging it. You don't have all that tedious mucking around with knowing all the stuff you need to know about when it comes to plugging in charge controllers and inverters and battery banks and generation points. It's all sorted for you. Obviously, when something is sorted for you, it comes at a cost, hey? That's 100% true. And that's why you pay slightly more for it, but the ease of use is the real win. Anyway, I'm loving the look of it so far, but guess what we're going to do next? We're going to take it apart and have a look inside. Okay, so this design is done along the lines of Fairphone. If you remember that, they did it a modular design where if a bit broke, every bit was easy to take off and you could repair it really, really simply. And that's what these guys have gone for. Because this is a top retaining clip, comes off that easily, and in there are 6 screws. Those 6 screws are what hold this together. And then you just lift it off. Now, either they've got some very dumb workers or they're begging for you to take this apart because there's a big arrow on that top telling you it points in that direction. So they really help you to take this thing apart. Once you've got it apart, that's what you can see inside. Now on the top is the electronics. It's the inverter and the MMP controller all on one board. We've got the front panel and the rear panel. The front panel, undo the 2 connectors. Looking for it, there we go. And it should just slide out. There we go, out it comes. That's pretty cool. So they've done the best to make this modular. You can see the battery pack inside, so that it can be undone by just about anybody. Now there's a ton of glue used on this, and that's obviously to make the whole thing robust, so that it can be knocked about, which makes sense if you think about it, because this thing obviously is meant to be portable, so it's meant to be knocked about and scuffed on the outside and yet maintained on the inside. So it's got some metal casing in there, and then it's got a whole load of glue holding everything together. Okay, the back plate you lift up and pry out, and out it comes, and you can see all the connection points. Now I've taken the fans off around the side, and there are 8 screws on the top there that hold that on. There we go. That's it. The electronics out. So there are support plates, there are the electronics board and its connection to the backboard. Now I could have undone those connections and separated it, but I'm not going to. There we go. And inside we can see we've got the actual battery pack itself. The battery pack seems to be held in by 2 screws here and here, and then we've got the connector that's been held on as well. Let's undo those. So 2 screws holding on the connection cover, 4 screws holding on the battery pack, and there it is, the battery pack with its BMS. I feel like I'm a surgeon removing the heart of the beast. So these are LFP cells. Now LFP stands for lithium ferrophosphate, and ferro is just another name for iron. It's the Latin for iron. So these are lithium iron cells, and there's 16 of them. You can see that they're rather chunky in themselves, and that's the BMS sitting right there. So repairing that is going to be a bit of a breeze rather than a couple of hundred of the tiny little cells that you see in a Tesla Powerwall. Now, lithium iron phosphate is not to be sneezed at. I mean, it does have a lower energy density, but They are cheaper. They last up to 3,000 cycles. Well, actually it's 2,300. The guys claim 3,000 with their software. So 3,000 plus cycles. They're cheaper. They're less toxic. They're less flammable, so less likely to explode, making them much safer. And a key thing is they contain no nickel and, importantly, no cobalt. Because, of course, blood minerals, conflict minerals like cobalt are one of the great issues in our world, and these ones don't contain any. Now, overall, the inside of it is pretty robustly built, which is nice to see, actually. I can see that there are 6 screws holding those, so I could take that apart and have a look at the board, but I probably won't. I think we've gone far enough with the disassembly. On the whole, it is robustly built on its internals, and that's good to see because, of course, that means it's going to last an awful lot longer, which is basically what you want. This modular build design, like in the Freephone, means that the repair of it is going to be so much easier. I mean, most people won't attempt a repair like this, but you can repair it if you're not that scared of it, or you can build on other things like replace the battery management system. If that goes and your batteries have still got life in them, or replace the batteries and still maintain all of these electronics, because the electronics are going to last an absolute lifetime. The electronics themselves, they scream really about design. This idea of integrating those things into the one board and having the board on top, so that again you can keep the battery pack if the electronics do go, and you've got the whole thing that can be repaired. That's really quite brilliant. Of course, what I've got to do now is put it back together and make sure I haven't broken it. Okay, so I've put it back together, turned it back on, and it's still working. Now, it's been a big help with those arrows and the fact that it was, you know, just a few screws. It's meant to be done that way, which is great. Now, ever since we took apart the Sirius kilowatt capacitor module and found they hadn't had a capacitor in there ever, I've always been a little bit suspicious about what's inside these things, but it looks like we've got 16 lithium phosphate batteries at 3.2 volts, 20 amp hours each, and it makes sense. They're, 401271s, and it adds up to what it says on the box, which is pretty cool. So, nice device, nice thing, like the kit that it comes with the solar charger, like the idea that there are so many things you can charge this from, and I think the idea here is, you know, that they are touting it as a mobile power station, but I think it fits into that blackout blank spot that we're going to be facing in the UK. Now, I don't really understand advertisers, hey? They can be a little prescriptive, and of course what you end up with is 200 videos telling you all about the ins and outs of the performance of the thing. And I'm kind of not interested in that. I mean, EcoFlow, they're selling this as a portable power supply that you can charge from multiple sources, and what they wanted was, a patterned shirt and some boots while I make some shelves out in the pine forest with the teeth of a beaver or something like that. I'm not quite sure what they wanted. But I see this as fulfilling a need, and that's what I'm interested in, because it is basically a battery. And a battery, usually in something like a UPS, well, you have to leave it plugged in, and when the power goes down, it switches to the battery and it can run. And this actually goes beyond that, if you like, because the multiple ways you can charge this are one of the things that's quite impressive about it. I mean, you can plug it in if you want and use it like a UPS, but you can also charge it from a generator. EcoFlow do sell a generator, but any generator will do it. You've got your solar cell, which again they sell, but you have the option of actually plugging in your own solar cell. You can charge it from the car. If you run it from the car, you can charge it from the mains, you can charge it from a generator. So it really does go beyond just being a battery. It's a very cool thing, actually. And of course the portability means you can take it to where you need it, and that's great when you're in a situation where you're just having to cover something. It's not a permanent installation. The other thing that I really like about it is how dirt simple it is to use. I mean, that's the other thing that's cool about something like this. If you don't have the time to learn all you need to learn, you want something that you press the button or look at the app on your phone and you can use it to do what you want it to do immediately, out of the box, no sweat. So those two aspects of it are what I thought were immensely interesting, actually. I have no real inclination to climb a mountain with this and build my own hut, but the idea of covering the blackouts that we're not going to have, well, that struck my imagination, and a lot of people have been telling me that's great, but I show stuff as simply as possible that even then it's undoable. Are there other solutions out there? Well, it would appear that this EcoFlow Delta 2 charge station is another solution that's out there. Anyway, that's why I decided to do the breakdown video on it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please do remember to like and subscribe.